So, if you looked at the playlist for my videos, you probably saw that a while back I hit 100 videos, but a lot of those were game announcements, so this is more my 100th full-length video. And so, gonna do something a bit more special, and I'm gonna do the sort of milestone games in my life. Not like my favorite games. I'm gonna do that next time for the 1000 subscribers special. Thank you all for that. But no, these are games that I feel like sort of represent a bit of a turning point in my history of enjoying the art form of video games, and eventually would go on to making video games. So I guess the best place to start would be what the first video game I played was, which I was playing games so young that I don't actually remember. I'm pretty sure it would have been an arcade game, so it might have been either Galaga or Cruisin' World. Galaga is a classic shmup, very fun classic Namco arcade game, and Cruisin' World is one of my favorite racing games still, and probably because of that, racing games were my favorite genre as a kid, and I still got a pretty soft spot for racing games. Moving on, it'd probably be next would be the first console game I've got, which would have been Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights when I was 8. Just as a kid, seeing that commercial for the game, it wanted me to ask for a PS2 for my birthday, and yeah, that was a fairly good game. I never ended up finishing it. I once wanted to try to go back when I was a bit older, but I found it super annoying that there's a laugh track every time you press every single button. It's a fun childhood game. Next game is also a childhood game, even though, yeah, it's definitely not meant for children, is Halo 2. But this was like in the early 2000s, well, more the mid 2000s. Like, this was the game that everybody played at parties. And even though I wasn't any good with it, I always enjoyed it. It may have even been the first FPS game I ever played. It has a lot of things I still like, because even though it seems kind of simple today, like the physics stuff, sort of, that map with the big wheel that you can ride up, or even just that girder that tilts back and forth, and also really like the vehicles and how that mixed in. Those are all still good qualities of Halo right now. Next, like, big milestone probably would have been the first game I played online, which would have been Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the first one. Yeah, in which the first words I ever heard in a video game lobby were, "You guys fucking suck." But it was still fun. It was always, I would like play like every Friday when you get off school for the weekend. This was really into Call of Duty back then. I probably didn't really start to veer away from it till Ghost. Next, gonna have some a bit quicker ones. Is that Skyrim was probably the first big open world RPG I played. Well, that I remember really well. And another game I played around in was Dishonored. Although I'm not sure if it represents any milestones, I always remember playing those two games together. Next, probably one of the biggest ones, as was a pair of games, AC1 and Dead Space 1. And I would play the entire franchise up until then, before the new ones came out, which was Assassin's Creed 3 and DS3, which I know people find those games are disappointing, but anyway, I think they're alright. Yeah, so like I think that's when I really first started to dive deeper into games, and games became like my main hobby, and I would like search them out more. A lot of times I would try to stick more to things that are related to things I know, like if it was a movie tie-in or like someone suggested on YouTube. But I think with Dead Space and Assassin's Creed is when I really started to like seek out games and started like watching E3 and stuff and trying to stay up to date on game news, and mainly just giving new things a chance. I'm gonna do a couple of quick ones. I played the original Deus Ex, and I think that invigorated gave me a lot of nostalgia for the early 2000s games, even though like I was only like a kid game. I think it made me appreciate them a lot more, and I've been trying to seek out more of those. There's Amnesia 1, which is probably like one of the first like full horror games I played. Which Dead Space is horror, but like I mean like not survival or action horror, just pure horror games. And Titanfall, of course, is my favorite game of all time. Even though it doesn't really represent a milestone, gotta put it on here. So this next one is For Honor, which is a pretty good game. But what's significant about it is the first game I reviewed on this channel. RE2 remake was also pretty early, and I would not recommend that you watch those videos because I sound like I'm high in my early videos, and I've gotten a lot better at this. Still not great, anyway. But from then on, the main games that are marking my life are the games when I started making games. There was the first game I made with code, which was a simple top-down thing that I did as part of college. That was pretty significant. And there was the first, and probably one of the biggest ones was another college project with that was like this dragon game where you flap your wings and fly around and get people to safety from this like burning building. That was sort of like working off a prompt I had to follow. But that was like the first time I remember making the flying. It's sort of like Flappy Bird, where you had to actively hit space to flap your wings. And I remember that being the first time I made a satisfying game mechanic. And I just really love that sort of thing. It's probably the best part of game development. And from there forward, I had Cyber Rush, the first game that I completed. Then I had Laser Rush, which would lead to Laser Rush Reloaded. The Silicon Shadow would be the first game I put on Steam. And now I'm doing Game Jam games like The Sound of Evil and my newest one, Scattershot. So it's been a big journey to get here through playing games and enjoying them or reviewing them and making them. Thank you to anyone who watched these videos over the years. So that's about it. Thank you to anyone who likes, comments, or subscribes.